Chapter 539 to 540. Why are you telling me the position coordinate of the new base of the Akatsuki organization? Asked Fugaku with a frown. He was a little stunned after all. Shinichi's current action is practically betraying the Akatsuki organization, so Fugaku was taken aback and subconsciously stopped the invasion of yin-yang inside Shinichi. However, to Fugaku's question, Shinichi gave no reply. He remained silent and just shook his head. Given the circumstances he is in, Shinichi can only pass on the Akatsuki organization's intelligence through the medium of genjutsu while confronting the enemies. Otherwise, his secret identity as a spy within the organization will be confirmed by white Zetsu clones that are monitoring him, which is something Shinichi doesn't want. As for the reason why Shinichi passed on this information to Fugaku and not others, it is very simple. Shinichi was unable to meet any other person who would act as a safe channel and pass on the information to Kuroto. Passing on Akatsuki's intelligence to Fugaku is equivalent to passing it to Uchiha Shisui, and Shisui would definitely inform Kuroto about such an important piece of intelligence. Although there is a certain risk factor involved in this approach, because of the use of a second and third party that is acting as middlemen, Shinichi must pass on such critical information regardless of the risk factor, as it might help Kuroto better plan out his next course of action against the Akatsuki organization. Moreover, using this approach would also help Kuroto better understand Shinichi's current situation within the Akatsuki organization. Seeing Shinichi's silence, Fugaku said, "It seems that you are not truly loyal to the Akatsuki organization. If so, then you will come back with me. As for your dissatisfaction with the clan and the village, this time I promise that I will not disappoint." However, before Fugaku could finish his words, Shinichi interrupted coldly. "Patriarch Sama, our views, intentions, and objectives differ. You have your consideration, and I have mine. No matter how much you try to persuade me, I will not be coming back. So it's better to end this conversation here because it would just be a waste of time for both of us." What Shinichi said this time is his true intention, and he doesn't plan on leaving the Akatsuki organization, at least not anytime soon, and not without notifying Kuroto. The reason is that the more he stayed within the Akatsuki organization, the more he understood the depths of this terrorist organization, whose primary objective is to bring peace to this shinobi world. Shinichi is not sure whether this so-called peace can be achieved or not, but what he understands is that lurking within the Akatsuki organization is extremely important, as it would allow him to keep tabs on them. Being able to detect and pass on the intelligence related to the horrendous plans of these lunatics to achieve their so-called peace is far more significant for the Uchiha clan, Konoha village, and the entire shinobi world, compared to going back to the clan with the patriarch and help him become Konoha's Hokage. This is what he has come to believe, and this is also the reason why Shinichi has never tried to explicitly come into contact with Kuroto ever since he was under suspicion. His identity as a spy may come in handy in the future. You don't seem to understand your situation here, Shinichi." Fugaku snorted coldly, then continued after a pause. "Whether you can retreat from here or not is not up to you. I am the one who decides it." As soon as Fugaku finished, the blacks and whites that have been stagnant started to invade Shinichi's body and started to blur his consciousness bit by bit. At first glance, Shinichi doesn't seem to be able to put up any resistance against the invasion of the black and whites. Aside from his consciousness, even his body in the Taikyokuzu realm became mottled and slowly became part of this yin-yang prison world. At this time, Fugaku's voice sounded in the Taikyokuzu realm. "You needn't worry, Shinichi. I won't be killing you. The cause of your defection also had the responsibility of the clan, so after we go back, I will personally talk with—" Ha 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 ha. Before Fugaku could finish speaking, Shinichi, whose consciousness was blurry and mottled, suddenly laughed out loud. Then, without waiting for Fugaku to react, he immediately disappeared from the Taikyokuzu plane. Fugaku was shocked. What the— Fugaku had expected various means that Shinichi would try to use in order to dispel Taikyokuzu, but not this kind. There was no confrontation of visual prowess, no use of genjutsu, and nothing at all. Shinichi just straight up disappear from the yin-yang plane as if he wasn't even here to begin with. And this disappearance was so abrupt that Fugaku didn't even have the opportunity to stop Shinichi. No. To be more exact, Fugaku didn't even have the opportunity to notice the disappearance of Shinichi. And it was only after Shinichi had disappeared that Fugaku realized and reacted. Shocked at such a situation, Fugaku's consciousness quickly returned to the real world and asked Shinichi, "How did you do it?" Shinichi smirked. "Don't forget Patriarch Sama. You are not the only one here with Mangekyu Sharingan." Fugaku nodded stiffly. "I see. So it is related to your Mangekyu Dojutsu?" Shinichi nodded. "I suppose you can say so. So it would be best that you don't waste your chakra and visual prowess on trying to stop me. Because whether you use a physical attack or a spiritual attack, nothing would work on me." After speaking so, Shinichi did not wait for Fugaku to react, and quickly used body flicker jutsu to disappear from his position without hesitation. The information that had to be passed has been passed, so there is no longer any reason for him to stay here. On the other hand, the three elite uchiha who were surrounding Shinichi along with Fugaku looked at each other, then at Fugaku, waiting for the Patriarch's order. Patriarch, whether to pursue Shinichi or not. In response to the questioning gaze of the three elite uchiha, Fugaku stood still and remained silent for a while, then shook his head slightly. No, there would be more Akatsuki members there, so the situation would become disadvantageous for just the four of us. Let him go this time. Fugaku's words silenced the three uchiha elites, and they could only helplessly look in the direction Shinichi disappeared. While the three elite uchiha were helpless, Fugaku thought, "I hope I did not make any mistake by letting you escape the Taikyokuzu plane," then turned his head to look in the direction of the forest on the side. The other three uchiha may not have noticed them, but Fugaku clearly sensed the presence of those non-human beings traveling through the earth and following after Shinichi. Fugaku noticed that these non-human beings have been following Shinichi and their squad ever since they left Konoha. Only now, when Shinichi has retreated, did the presence of these non-human beings traveling through the ground disappear. Initially, Fugaku thought that they were Shinichi's companions, so Fugaku was also vigilant against the sneak attack from them. But now that Shinichi has indirectly revealed several things, Fugaku can obviously guess and figure out a lot of things. Although those non-human beings are Shinichi's so-called companions from the Akatsuki organization, they are more like monitoring Shinichi's actions than simply assisting him in resisting the enemy. With this information alone, Fugaku was able to deduce a lot of things and acted as per those deductions. Of course, Shinichi being able to escape the Taikyokuzu plane was a surprise to Fugaku, but Shinichi being able to retreat from this place is because Fugaku allowed it. The reason is obviously that Fugaku wants to see what are Shinichi's true intentions. Moreover, after today's short confrontation with Shinichi, Fugaku has also confirmed one very important thing. And that one very important thing is that Shinichi neither holds animosity towards the Uchiha clan nor towards Konoha. This is primarily the main reason why Fugaku allowed him to retreat without any further confrontation after he managed to escape the yin-yang prison world. "Well, let's wait and see," muttered Fugaku to himself as he recovered his thoughts, then said to the three Uchiha elites, "Let's go back. I am worried about the situation back in the village." "Yes, Captain." The three Uchiha nodded, then rushed back towards the direction of the village, on Shinichi's side. After getting rid of the pursuit of Uchiha Fugaku, as well as the three elites Uchiha, Shinichi traveled through the forest with a bitter expression as the pattern within his eyes returned back the three Tomoe Sharingan state, which soon turned to black. Mangekyu Sharingan is a pair of cursed dojutsu that will eventually lead to blindness because of their power being sealed away with each use, was what Kuroto said to him a few years ago. Ever since Shinichi learned of this fact from Kuroto, he has always been prudent in his use of the Mangekyu Sharingan and has been protecting his visual prowess as much as possible, so that he can cope with any sort of emergency should the need arise where he will have to use everything he has. In short, Shinichi generally doesn't rely on the Mangekyu Sharingan dojutsu until he is pushed into the very corner and has been left with no other option. Precisely why the fact that he had to resort to using his Mangekyu Sharingan to intimidate Fugaku in order to get rid of the pursuit really makes Shinichi feel a little bitter in his heart. But no way, he had no other option. After all, Shinichi really didn't expect Fugaku to be hidden so deeply. It's really patriarch. The fact that Fugaku-sama has awakened the Mangekyu Sharingan shouldn't be known to anyone within the clan. At least, the elites following him were completely unaware. I don't know if Kuroto is aware of this information or not, thought Shinichi with a deep frown, then shook his head without much care, because Shinichi has a feeling that Kuroto should be aware of this information through Shisui. It doesn't really matter. This information doesn't have much to do with my mission. Anyway, I was able to pass on the information that I wanted to. The rest is up to him, muttered Shinichi with a smile. But to be honest, it's really unbelievable. If I count myself, Patriarch, Shisui, the fake Madara, and Tsukihi, who most likely is the one playing the role of Amatsukami's Homusubi, currently the number of Uchiha who have awakened the Mangekyu Sharingan amounts to 5. This is perhaps the most glorious period of the Uchiha clan in its millennium-long history. Yet the clan is still struggling with the village and fighting for the position of Konoha's Hokage, thought Shinichi with a sigh. Then again shook his head and decided to not focus too deeply on this matter. After all, he doesn't really care much about the position of the Hokage. And if you ask him, there is perhaps only one candidate suitable for the position of Konoha's Hokage. But then again, it doesn't have anything to do with him, so he would neither comment on it nor would he express his opinion. But one thing to note is that Shinichi is aware of the fact that Uchiha Tsukihi also possesses the Mangekyu Sharingan, despite the fact that he was never told about this information. As for how Shinichi knows that Uchiha Tsukihi also possesses the Mangekyu Sharingan, the answer is relatively simple. He doesn't know. It's just his guess. Shinichi guessed that Uchiha Tsukihi also has Mangekyu Sharingan due to several simple reasons. It happened only a few months ago. The fake Madara, who returned from Kirigakure with new recruits, relayed the information about Homusubi's abilities, and also the fact that she is a woman. At that time, Shinichi guessed that the Uchiha woman who plays Homusubi is most likely Uchiha Tsukihi. After all, Homusubi and Uchiha Tsukihi are related to Amatsukami and Hyuga Kuroto respectively, and Hyuga Kuroto happens to be the secret leader of the Amatsukami organization. At the same time, both Homusubi and Uchiha Tsukihi are women, so the two of them have to be one and the same person, and that is Uchiha Tsukihi. Of course, not everyone can guess this information as easily as Shinichi did, because Uchiha Tsukihi is officially dead, as she was killed by Shino. Shinichi knows that Tsukihi did not die back then, but Shino died later. So it's simple for him to guess Homusubi's true identity. Of course, Shinichi is also not yet aware of the fact that Uchiha Itachi has also awakened the Mangekyu Sharingan and also plays the role of the Homusubi of the Amatsukami organization. But even if he knew this information, it wouldn't change his guess, because he is more than certain of his guess. Anyway, all that aside, among all the current known abilities of all the Mangekyu Sharingan users, my Mangekyu Sharingan abilities are really the best, trickiest, and the most practical ones. Heh, muttered Shinichi with a smirk as he thought about Hachiman and Nakisawame. Shinichi feels that his thought isn't wrong, because he has found that his Mangekyu abilities, Hachiman and Nakisawame, are really the most wonderful pair of abilities among all the known abilities. One allows him to fight at his peak state, irrespective of any damage or injury that he takes on, while the other one allows him to retract back in time. With the combination of these two abilities, killing him is one of the most difficult tasks. This is also one of the reasons why Shinichi has always been carefree in the Akatsuki organization, even if Akatsuki consists of several monstrous class shinobi. After all, nobody in the Akatsuki organization is capable of killing him. For the same reason, the fake Madara also doesn't take Shinichi lightly, and has been using the white Zetsu clones to monitor his actions all the time. In the face of Shinichi's Nakisawame, which allows him to track back in time, even the fake Madara's space-time jutsu is not much effective. So even if Shinichi is pulled inside the Kamui space, Shinichi can just use Nakisawame to track back in time and return to the shinobi world. Of course, this doesn't imply that Shinichi is capable of killing the fake Madara. The current Shinichi's visual prowess is limited, and he will be blinded if he overuses his eyes, which is not the case for the fake Madara, who has Hashirama cells transplanted into his body. He is aware of this disadvantage of his, therefore he has not turned his face from the fake Madara and has not declared open hostility against him. Shinichi knows that if a life and death battle were to break out between the two of them, Shinichi would be at a little disadvantage and might end up losing the battle, which is not something he would want. Anyway, putting all that aside, Shinichi retracted his many diverging thoughts and increased his speed. Before long, he arrived at one of the many predetermined retreat points. At the retreat point, Shinichi was surprised to find that only a single member of the Akatsuki organization was present there, and it was none other than Kakuzu. Kakuzu silently sat on a piece of a large rock and seemed to be waiting for the arrival of the other members. Beside him were two tied-up unconscious children. Huh? These two kids are... Looking at the two unconscious children, and more specifically at the clan crest on their clothes, Shinichi frowned, then asked in a ridiculing tone, "Well now, are these two kids the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi? And are they both Jinchuriki of Kyuubi?" As far as I knew, it was a blonde kid with blue eyes and whiskers on his face named Uzumaki Naruto. But clearly, none of them resembles any physical feature mentioned by Toby. "You sure have done a perfect job, Kakuzu." Kakuzu didn't take Shinichi's ridicule to heart and replied lightly, "The Jinchuriki of Kyuubi was accidentally taken away by Orochimaru. If I have to guess, Orochimaru's original target was this kid from the Uchiha clan who is now in our hands. After this matter is over, we can simply exchange our respective targets and the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi will be in our hands." While retreating from Konoha, Kakuzu deeply thought about Orochimaru's intentions and concluded that Orochimaru's original target was probably the kid from the Uchiha clan that was now in his hands, so he didn't bother anymore and simply brought over the kid with him. Kakuzu doesn't believe that Orochimaru can control the power of the Kyuubi, so he should agree to the exchange. Anyway, the other party is only an Orochimaru. Can that snake still refuse a deal from the Akatsuki organization? After listening to Kakuzu's reasoning, Shinichi found it plausible and didn't say anything more. Instead, he focused his gaze on the two unconscious children, more specifically, on the pair of white eyes of the other kid. A kid from the Hyuga clan, huh? Back to the main battlefield. Shisui had an extremely solemn face as he looked at Konan, Toby, and Nagato standing on the other side. The defeat of 5 Kage has really shocked Shisui to his core. He doesn't know what happened to Sandaime-sama and where he is currently, but Shisui knows that he cannot abandon those on this battlefield and prepared himself to fight to the death. No matter what happens, Shisui cannot allow Nagato to strip out the Sanbi and Hachibi out of their Jinchuriki. Whoosh whoosh! As Shisui was racking his brain to find a possible solution that he can use to at least ensure the safety of Yagura and Killer B, suddenly 2 figures appeared on the battlefield. The vigilant Shisui turned his head to look at the 2 figures who have just arrived on the battlefield, and his hanging heart finally couldn't help but be relieved. But contrary to Shisui's relief, as soon as the 3 members of the Akatsuki organization saw the arrival of these 2 figures, their faces changed. The indifferent Nagato's eyes shrank, expressionless. Konan's face was filled with traces of fear. And as for Toby, although Toby's expression was hard to deduce, one thing was certain. His head was filled with countless question marks as he really wanted to ask one very important question from the 3 people opposite to him. What does it feel like to poop?